Granby, Mass. 11 May 2021 Conservation Commission meeting. Dave, it's all yours.
Thank you, Bill. We'll start at 7:02 in Building and Board of Health applications. The first one up, I think, is Brennan Smith. And I see, Brennan, you're in the room. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you wonderful, thanks.
Great. Brennan reached out to us. He is interested in putting I guess I'll call it a food forest, Brennan. And on your property, you're a new resident in the town of Granby, and you wanted some feedback, I guess, as far as the location of your food forest or your garden, I think is also a way to look at it. But we invited you to attend tonight's meeting on the opportunity for you to explain what you're hoping to do on your property, and also answer any questions that the commissioners may have on that regard. And if we wanted to come out for a site visit, I think you offered that would be possible also. But with that, I'd like to turn the floor to you for a few minutes just to explain what your goals are for this food forest.
Great. Well, first I'll just say thanks to everybody for your service. I know that this is work that you're doing above and beyond your own professional calling, and I sure appreciate it as somebody who likes the natural world as conserved and beautiful as possible.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
We live right on the Bachelor Brook here, and it's to the west of where all that beaver activity downstream, I'm told, didn't used to be there. And so this used to just be straight, unwavering, rushing brook. And now the water has been pushed in and wide, and it's quite a wetlands back here. And with us living right on it, I just wanted to make sure that there were no concerns in the eyes of the commission as regards things that I might not understand about if quality or type of water running off of the land is suddenly different when an organic garden is present in ways that I wouldn't know about. So we're certainly, when we look at food forestry, the primary academic systems we're looking at come from these textbooks, Edible Food Forests by Holyoke resident Eric Tonesmeyer, who has that 1/10 of an acre lot that is renowned in the permaculture community for having over 247 species on it. It's an incredible vision of what a polyculture can look like, as well as Dave Jackie, who lives in Keene, New Hampshire. So this was my winter read after I got my permaculture certification. And the whole point of a food forest is just that you mimic actual mid-succession woods life in the overstory, understory, ground cover, and root layer sense. And you preserve and take good care of that ecology, because it is the stage of moving from old field to old forest that is most diverse and most vibrant and has the highest yield. And the plants that you put in there are perennial food-bearing plants. So it's called a food forest because it mimics forest principles and produces a yield and constantly regenerates the soil. So looking at it in terms of this being our house, these are existing oak trees on the property, and these two swales are on contour swale and berms that we have shoveled into this slope that leads down to the wetlands this way. And from the end of this closest swale, which is a planting area, it's 125 feet to the wetlands. And so this whole backyard will be perennial shrubs, trees, and the reason we put these on contour swales on slope like that is not to affect the water table in any way, but rather just to slow the water down as it exits the property, so that the trees have a longer opportunity to feed from it. And because we've slowed it down and because it's moved through very rich soil along the way, the water that is collected in the swale momentarily gets very rich with organic matter, and it serves the plants to thrive. I'm open to questions if you have specific thoughts or ideas about, most of the species that I've chosen to put in the garden plan have already been selected, and I'm happy to talk about those. I just thought that might be too granular, in terms of the commission's purview.
Brennan, I have a question. If I understand you correctly, all of your work here that you're proposing will occur in the mowed lawn area of the property, correct? You're not encroaching into any of the forested or the existing tree area?
No, the woods are the woods, and in permaculture we call that Zone 5. It's like a sacred obligation not to touch it.
Okay.
So it has a name just to distinguish it from the other zones, which you might do something with, but we don't do anything in Zone 5, so none of the woods would be touched.
Now, Brennan, are you depending upon the natural nitrogen fixation properties of some of these plants to provide food for the plants, or are you introducing artificial fertilizers?
No, there's no fertilizing. We definitely have nitrogen fixers throughout the plan. Specifically, Siberian pea shrub is a major choice, and then some smaller ones as well, including some clover ground cover.
Okay, and your objective is to promote a wide, diverse plant community, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, it's great. Kevin Shoemaker's one of our newer members, and Kevin is kind of 180 degrees from your philosophy because he's a greenskeeper at one of our local fine golf courses. Okay. And Kevin's objective is to make a very homogeneous plant community, namely poa annua or bent grass. So it's kind of interesting that you guys are on opposite sides of the spectrum, but I'm sure conversing, you could provide plenty of good ideas to one another. So Kevin, any comments for Brennan?
Yeah, go ahead.
Got to turn your mic on,
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right, good. Yeah, no, it's definitely, you said it right. It's the opposite of what I do for a living, and it's just a job, maintaining a golf course. And I basically do a monoculture, just grass. So, and that doesn't mean I don't care about the natural world and what you're doing, and I appreciate it. I try to do some gardening when I have a chance, and anytime you can do anything at all holistically without the introduction of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, any inputs, just let nature do its thing. Then that's great. That sounds great, and I think it's definitely part of the future. I see homeowners they want to be self-sufficient. They want to stop spending astronomical amounts of money at the grocery store and try to be self-sufficient. Use the land, and it's definitely a trend I'm seeing with a lot of homeowners.
I'm looking outside of the box of what Brennan's doing. I'm sure you've been following Elon Musk's issues, and again, this would be the sort of thing that you could colonize on another planet, I would suspect.
Well, they're certainly greening entire deserts by doing this.
Yeah, it'd be part of the Mars program. No, but seriously, if you're growing nitrogen fixers, which means you're essentially growing your own food for your vegetation, that's actually a very, very interesting approach. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. When I'm on the course, Kevin, I'm very grateful for your monocultures. And especially, I don't know what breed that is that can handle being cut so short on the greens and be so tightly packed. But when my ball rolls true to my reed on the break, I'm very grateful for that breed of grass.
Well, Kevin's
All right.
course in Holyoke, Wyckoff Country Club, Brennan, has some of the fastest greens around. So
Amen.
I think Kevin's cutting them at, Kev, you're cutting them under 1/10 of an inch these days?
Yeah, not quite 1/10, not quite that low. That's pretty tough to do. Over there, it's a wind tunnel. It dries out real fast, so I got to watch out for that.
Yeah. But Brennan, thank you for your ideas and again bringing some progressive agriculture to the community. I think you're excellent. Now, are you from the West Coast originally?
Not originally. I was raised in Kansas. So talk about a monoculture location.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really? Where at?
Real well.
Where at in Kansas?
In Hutchinson.
Hutchinson. Okay. Believe it or not, my parents, they live in Winfield.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, my dad transferred out there 20 years ago. He's been there for 20 years.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, I was raised there. I did spend 13 years in LA. So I also claim California as a place that I know well, but I always thought it would be too cold here. And now that I live here, I'm like, dang, I don't know why I waited so long. This place is just amazing. I was born.
Thank you very much, Brendan. And I don't think there's any need for a site visit, Bill. Would you think a site visit, unless we want to go, but there's no requirement on what he's asking to do.
Well, let me ask Brennan a question. Brennan, at some point, how long will it take your community to essentially build out, if you will? Will it take 6 months or a year? Maybe you could invite us back once it's built out as you see it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that once there's actually something to see other than little whip sticks of future trees, that I'd love to have you guys just check out what it's like to see how the plants are all interacting and what the plan is like when it actually looks like what it's going to look like. Because it sure doesn't right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please put that on your calendar, and we'd certainly like to oblige and come look at that once it's grown out. That's great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Brennan. The next one on our agenda is Bachelor Street Pool, which I think is 126 Bachelor Street. John Pierce, I believe.
Yep.
John, are you in the room? I think you are.
Yep, I am. So there's no new news as of right now. I'm still working through the notice of intent. I got a couple attachments I still need to work through and drawings and whatnot. But I had one question. Do I still need to fill out a request for determination of applicability, or did the site visit kind of cover that?
Bill, can you answer that for him, please?
I would recommend going directly to the NOI, John, as you're doing. Go to the NOI. It's very rare that folks go to RDAs then to NOIs. Normally, it's kind of understood which path you're going to take, the Form 1 or the Form 3. But go forward with your NOI and let us know if you have any particular questions. But again, you'll be filing under redevelopment in a riverfront resource area.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Bill, that's we only have those two items under the Board of Health, the Building and Board of Health applications right now. The public hearing starts at 7:30, and at this point it's still 7:16. Do we have anything to fill the void?
Yeah, why don't we go through, so no more building permits?
None on the agenda.
Okay, let's go through administrative duties, Dave. So if you could just read those numerically.
Sure.
I'm sorry, can you hear me okay? This is Jim Ferraro.
Jim?
Yeah, hi. I have an application for a building permit. I'm in the meeting at the moment.
I can barely hear you, Jim. I'm sorry. What, you said you have a building permit application?
Can you hear me better now or not?
A little bit.
Let me switch to my phone. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
That's what I finally got.
Much better, yes.
Okay. So yeah, I filled out a building application for a building permit. That's why I'm in the meeting. Colleen had
Okay.
put me on the agenda today.
Oh, she didn't. Okay. Where? What's the address?
She did.
She
Or
did.
at least I was told she did. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I don't have an up-to-date building. Agenda. So what is this, a brand new property or is it an addition to an existing property?
Addition to an existing property. Yeah.
Okay, is this 24 Porter Street?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, Dave, Kathy sent it out this morning at 9:51 a.m. if you want to check your email.
All right, I'll just look at it right now. While I'm checking, Jim, if you want to explain what your...
Sure. Yeah, so we're just putting an addition onto our pre-existing home. We currently don't have a garage.
Okay.
We don't have much living space. Our home is almost 1,500 square feet, so we're adding to it, and that's pretty much the gist of it. There doesn't seem to be any issues. The Board of Health has no problem with it. I've already heard from them. And I was put on the agenda for the Conservation Committee this evening.
Jim,
I'm looking for signatures. Yep.
Yeah, I did look at your property and on Porter Street, and I saw it. Bill, if you have a comment, but it's on the uphill side of Porter Street. So there's really, it is an existing home. It's a very nice home, actually.
Thank you.
And you take really good care of the outside anyway from Zillow. I mean, Google Maps, I couldn't see inside, but the outside yard is taken very well, and it's uphill, so there's really no, it doesn't appear to have any steep slopes, certainly no wetlands or streams to deal with.
Correct.
Oh, okay, so Jim, this will be known as the Great Room?
Hold on, let me get back to my computer here.
Yeah, I'm just looking at your plan set now.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a garage, a two-car garage. Let me mute my computer because I'm.
Oh, I see, and then you've got living space on top of the garage then. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any, Dave, if you don't see any problem on the Mass GIS or the Google Earth,
No.
I think this is not a problem at all.
Green cleared. I mean, so what would our be next step is just.
I think let's make a motion. I'll move that we approve with no further action. So Jim, you don't have to file for a wetlands permit, neither an NOI nor an RDA. And I'll talk to Mr. Briggs tomorrow. I'll give him the verbal that we've approved it tonight without any further action.
Okay, thank you very much.
I can second the motion if that's necessary, Bill.
Yes.
I'll second your motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
No.
Aye.
Aye.
Well, someone said no? Was there a no vote?
I think someone said no in regards to whether there was an opposition.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so I think the motion approved without further action, and so moved and approved. Jim, thank you again for.
Do we have
Hello?
a quorum?
Yeah, you're the fourth person, Wenda.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got Dave, myself, Kevin, and you, and Ed's there too. I don't know if Ed is listening, but his microphone is closed off. But I believe Ed is there as well. So we have 5 people right now.
Hi, Bill. I'm on.
Oh, you're okay. Very good.
I just had the microphone off for the background noise.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna sign off. This is Jim.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
So now,
No, I was just going to say that again. I'm having trouble accessing the Dropbox submittal by Kathy tonight.
Yeah.
Same
Anyway,
here, Bill. No access.
Yeah. Could you access the Dropbox?
That's a negative. I could not access the Dropbox either.
Yeah, for some reason, it's always been very easy. I just click on it and it opens up, but it's queuing me for all these passwords and stuff, and I don't know what's going on there. Okay, Dave, fire away, sir.
Okay, we're doing a few. We've got another 8 minutes before 7:30, so we're talking in the administrative duties. Any commentary to note tonight?
I have a letter here that I need to read, probably.
Go ahead, Wenda.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
This is the wrong one.
All right. I am representing PC Development LLC, which owns property at Carver Street, Munson Ridge. My client invested significant time and resources to successfully resolve an environmental matter with the Commonwealth of Mass through a conservation restriction. On February 18, 2020, the Commonwealth Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs approved the proposed conservation restriction. See the letter of John Goya, Division of Conservation Services, previously forwarded to the Board of Selectmen. However, this conservation restriction cannot be finalized until it is approved by local authorities. See Wellesley Conservation Commission versus Farina. Consequently, on February 26, 2020, I forwarded the Commonwealth letter of approval issued by Mr. Goya, along with the complete conservation restriction consisting of 17 pages to you. My letter of enclosure explained the required legal procedure which the conservation restriction needed to be reviewed by the Board of Selectmen and Conservation Commission. Unfortunately, the town of Granby did not act on this matter during 2021, undoubtedly due to COVID-19 public health crisis that precluded in-person meetings and municipal action. Fortunately, times are now safer. I am well aware of during 2020, the town of Granby resumed doing business, first remotely and then in person. My latest review of the town's website documents that the Board of Health has met several times in 2021. That happened most recently on March 1st, 22nd, and April 5th, 20th, April 29th, 13th, and April 29th. Consequently, I'm asking you to kindly place this proposal on the Conservation Commission to examine the matter as required by law. If you have any questions or desire any additional...
Wenda, who's the author of that letter?
John P. Da Cruz, attorneys at law, and we have a form.
I think we already acted on this, did we not, Dave?
Two 17-page documents that says sign here.
Right. Bill, I saw that document that Wenda's reading, and I don't know if the commission acted on it last year in 2020, which is where all those areas that Wenda's referring to about signing, those are all 2020 dates. So I assume that because of COVID, nothing happened on the project, but now they are resubmitting. And basically, when you look at that, you've referred to the Munson Ridge or Munson Development Project.
Right.
A little bit. I've never seen any documentation on it, but what this appears to be is as you go up Carver Street towards Belchertown, there will be another entrance to the Munson Ridge development that will probably circle around because that property is large enough that it goes around all of the other properties on Carver Street, and it connects up to the existing Munson Ridge property. So when you go, I guess it would be east towards Belchertown. There's wetlands.
Dave, there's 76. There's 76 lots.
Resolve the issues from the previous one.
I didn't understand you, Wenda. Could you repeat that?
This is to resolve the previous issues with the previous Munson estates that has been developed.
Again, I believe we signed that paperwork a couple of months ago.
Okay, well, I have two brand new copies here. They're unsigned. And this is dated April 29th.
Now, who's supposed to sign it? The commission or the select board?
Every single one of our names is on this.
Oh, okay.
And all 3 select board members are on it.
Okay, that's fine, because I gave Kathy permission to sign my name for me some time ago.
So I just need to know what to do with it.
We can pick this up again with Kathy, maybe, Bill?
Yeah, let's table this for now, Dave, and move forward. It's almost 7:30.
Yeah. Thank you, Wenda.
All right. So I noted on it that I read it into our minutes.
Yes, you did. And I've got it.
Okay.
And it's now 7:28, so.
So it should probably stop by and sign this document in person, maybe with Kathy.
Again,
Okay.
I've given Kathy authority to sign on behalf of myself, and you guys can do the same if you wish.
Right. I have.
Okay, Dave. Why don't we go through a couple more administrative items before 7:30? We've got 2 minutes.
The next meeting would be June 8th. It's the second Tuesday in the month of June.
Yes, sir.
And the last item I think we can touch on is the minutes that I passed around to everybody yesterday. Were there any comments on them or corrections that need to be documented?
Give me a couple of moments, if you would.
Okay. That's all we have.
Dave, have you Comcast at your house?
Do I have Comcast?
Yeah.
No, well, it's Xfinity.
Oh, that's what I mean. But has your internet been excessively slow over the past 2 days?
I've not noticed it too badly, no.
Okay, because
Sometimes
three
it is.
or 4 days ago, it was lightning quick, and it slowed down markedly over the past couple of days. And I don't know if it was Comcast doing something in response to that pipeline computer hack or what, but it's changed quite a bit.
Yeah, I've not noticed it, Bill.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me find this. Okay.
Kevin, do you have any comments by chance?
It just looks very neat, very thorough. You're doing a great job. It definitely helps to, it summarizes the meeting very well.
Thank you. I wasn't looking for a compliment, but I'll take it.
Oh, I appreciate it.
One thing, Dave, if you'd be so kind.
Yes.
Regarding item 5, Cold Hill Sewer Extension.
Yes.
Please note that I recused myself because my company's involved in the project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me just continue on here. Oh, FYI, I sent out the notice of intent for Eversource with the special conditions attachment as drafted by Emily Stockman.
Okay, real good.
So that's and you folks should be getting a copy of that soon. So we got that finished up finally.
That was sent to Kathy, correct, Bill?
That was actually sent to the DEP.
Oh, all right.
So there's a logistical issue. Kathy, someone's going to have to sign on our behalf on that one as well.
Right.
So we'll figure out how to get that done. But that was a fairly significant project. So I'm glad we got that one off the table.
Yep.
Okay. Otherwise, I think fine job on the minutes, Dave. Very, very good.
Thank you.
So pending. Now, shall we vote on them right now?
I'd like to, because then I'll tell Kathy these have been approved with the modification that you added to item number 5.
Okay.
I'll make sure Kathy gets an approved copy.
Okay, so I move we approve the minutes for April 13, 2021, subject to the modification as described earlier.
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'll have to, on that minutes, I was not at last week's or last month's meeting, so I will not vote on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Me either, so I'm abstaining.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Ed wasn't there and Wenda wasn't there either?
No, they weren't. And
Okay.
Amanda's not here today, so.
Yeah, Amanda's in St. Pete, so good for her. Very good. Okay, so all subject again to the other 2 modifications, all in favor?
All approved.
Aye.
I mean, aye.
Very good. Opposed? None heard?
Okay.
Okay, very good, Dave. Thank you.
Okay, so now we can open up the public hearing at 7:33. The first project we have is the Bachelor Street NOI that was approved last year. I spoke to Samantha Hawley, and I think she's here, maybe?
I am.
Okay, great. And you had a question, Samantha, for us regarding the straw wattle versus a geotextile fabric.
Yes.
Could you explain that one more time for us, please?
So for me, it just comes down to cost because it's astronomical for the straw wattle. It's about 12 grand to get it installed for
What?
this.
Oh, that's I can't believe it's that expensive, Samantha.
It
That's
is.
absurd.
It is.
Who quoted you that price?
Taylor Davis.
Oh, Taylor Davis from Amherst.
Yes.
Holy
Right. And I was
cow.
trying to get Omasta or Omasta. I'm not sure how they're pronouncing it, but to call me back with a quote, but they, everybody's too busy. So apparently nobody wants any extra work. So, but yeah, the quote came down to 12 grand, which is,
it sounded like he didn't want the project, but Dave and I have discussed this at length. I think we're going to put together a little worksheet for erosion control approaches in town. The ones we don't really approve are hay bales because they have noxious seeds in them. We prefer straw bales. Straw bales are seasonal and they are also rather expensive. The wattles, and this was enlightened from Emily Stockman, is that the polypropylene netting they use on the wattles, though they claim it's biodegradable after many, many months. And it's been known to capture animals. And
yes, Dave was saying that to me. So I'm, just another reason to not use it, besides money.
Now the thing with the fabric geotextile fence, the staked fence, is if you have a property with a lot of roots, it becomes very arduous to install because you have to dig a trench 6 inches deep and then overlap the bottom flap of the fence with the soil. So it's a rather lengthy procedure for installation. Now, is your property, it's heavily wooded, isn't it, up there?
Oh yes, it's going to be a nightmare no matter what option we go with. So it's either we pay 12,000 and still have to dig, because I think it's like 3 to 4 inches you have to dig for the straw wattle anyway.
Well, it's going to be.
So I'd rather dig 2 more inches and save 10 grand.
Well, again, I have no problem you changing. Again, the approach is you have to try to mitigate any movement of silt across the property. So obviously, if you see a little ravine and you say, boy, if it's going to rain, water's going to wash down the ravine, make sure you pay very special attention to that particular location.
Absolutely.
And there might be some areas shown, I'm looking at your plan set right now, there might be other areas on the plan where it would be unlikely to have any silt transport. So you might not have to be quite as detailed in that particular location, because again, How many lineal feet of silt fence is on your property?
I think it was a little over 1,500.
Wow. Wow.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. That's why it was 12 grand.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just wondering why. Now, what are you doing for a driveway? Are you actually moving earth for the driveway, or are you just going to drive over the existing terrain?
I'm sure that in some places we'll have to,
Okay.
but we would like to disturb as little as possible. And you know, whatever driveway we're putting in, it's just going to be crushed stone.
Okay.
We aren't going to pave it because it's too long.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're right. You know, my thought is if there's some area without any earth excavation or filling, there'd be no need for the silt fence if you're not disturbing the earth. But again, if you're disturbing the earth or introducing fines, soil fines, then certainly it may be required. But
yeah, I mean, we'll definitely have to disturb because we have to put in those culverts or whatever they are. Right. I think at the beginning of the driveway,
yes.
You know, and we're going to try to, you know, disturb as little as possible because we, you know, the less you do, the cheaper it is. So.
Right. Okay. Well, again, Kevin, what's your opinion on this?
Hang on, sorry. I 12 grand. That doesn't sound right at all.
Just for the fence, right?
Yeah, that's $8 a lineal foot. That doesn't make any sense to me, frankly.
Yeah, and Samantha, you're right. There's just everyone's busy right now, especially spraying. It's impossible to get every company. They're out straight, so they're probably just trying to overinflate their numbers to see if someone will, you know, take a bite, and then they're like, "Oh, home run, 12 grand for me, easy."
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Kevin, I think you're absolutely correct. Okay, Dave, any comments on your end?
I have no comments, Bill. I hear what Samantha's talking about, and I think it's totally, she's caught in a very hot market right now. So as long as, and I don't see any reason, as we've talked, the geotech fence does have some challenges to it because of the way it has to be inserted into the ground. But if it is a significant savings, I think I would go for it and just let her make the effort, don't you?
Well, I'm thinking, again, I'm trying to think outside of the box here. I don't know if the availability of straw is if the market is loose for straw. I got a feeling straw is at a very tight premium right now. So changing over to straw, I don't think would be any good.
No.
You could use the fabric style wattle, but I think the fabric style wattles are fairly expensive as well. You might want to investigate that, Samantha. There's a company in Springfield, EJ Prescott. They sell a lot of the environmental control products, and you might inquire of them other options which might be a low cost in addition to your silt fence. Again, I'm hoping you could put something up that you wouldn't have to start excavating through roots and into the soil. That's the point.
Right.
But again, I'm of the opinion if you want to go with the geotextile silt fence, that would be fine. But again, there's other options which might be even better.
Oh yes, I mean, we're going to try to go with whatever is the cheapest, and that could end up not being the geotextile fence just because of the labor that would be involved.
Yeah, well, so, it's got to be inexpensive and it's got to be effective. That's the most important.
Yeah, right. A nice combination of both.
Right, of course. Okay.
And you might have straw in some places to reinforce areas too.
That's a good point that Wanda brought up, Samantha. Again, if you're in a little ravine area with heavy water flow during storm events, you might want to back up the fabric fence with straw as a structural reinforcement. It does two things: provides structural reinforcement, and it also provides additional filtering. So in selected areas, it might not be a bad idea to put in a few bales of straw.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds good. It's a pretty flat area where the house is going though, but I can see your point when it comes to driveway areas.
Right. Ed, any comments on your end?
Not particularly, Bill. I was missing half the beginning of it. It was breaking up. I'm assuming this is the Bachelor Street property near Harris Street.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can understand the economics behind it. So I'm good with either choice. Whether it be silt fence, if straw wattles come down, whatever it costs to help the applicant save some money on that process.
You know, the point is,
It's not hay bales.
Yeah, she's got 1,500 lineal feet of product to put in, and someone quoted her $8 a lineal foot.
Yeah, I did hear that part of the conversation. I can understand it's probably somewhat market driven. Everybody's extremely busy, so it's on demand, I guess. Whatever it takes. So supply and demand is what I'm thinking of.
Right. Okay, Ed, thank you.
Now, Bill, before Samantha leaves, one of the questions she had for us is, at our March 9th meeting, we had spoke of this project. Samantha, you hadn't brought up the issue about the wattles at that point. I guess you hadn't discovered how expensive they were. But subsequent to that meeting, we had approved the project bill with a minor modification to the previously approved OOC. And I spoke to Kathy about it, and she said she had never received anything from us to send it to Samantha, because Samantha, I'm guessing you haven't received anything yet from Kathy, correct?
Nothing. And we've had several emails going back and forth. I even called her a couple of times. Initially she had said, she's waiting for it to be signed, but I think maybe she was thinking of a different one because she doesn't have anything. So then the original order of conditions in 2020 was never signed because of COVID. So I have an unsigned copy. So I need an actual signed one so I can record it with the Registry of Deeds. Otherwise I can't start anything.
Right. And I think that was the original reason for the call too.
Yes. Well, right. So the original reason. So the reason for the March call was because it was a follow-up to the other call that I went to, because I wanted to change the size of the building on the plan. So we had the engineer redo the grading, which there was no change. There was no changes to the grading at all with the increase in the building. And at that meeting in March, you all approved it. Just saying it was a minor modification, and then that's when we started talking about the order of conditions and how I never actually had one that was signed, so I can't do anything.
Well, here's the question, Samantha. Do you physically have an order of conditions?
I have an emailed copy that wasn't signed by anyone.
I think you have the notice of intent, but I don't think you have the order of conditions.
You might be right about that.
Okay,
maybe.
So that means I have your number. It's 165-0333. What I will do is I will, and I think Heather sent this over, so it should be on our EDP file at Granby 1. I can generate the order of conditions and send it to you electronically.
Okay, and it's signed, and I can just take it to them?
Well, you'll have the copy, and then at that point, it needs to be signed. It's actually a two-step process, but I don't think we actually formally issued your order of conditions yet. Okay. I could be wrong, but I think that's.
Well, I think it was issued to Al because I purchased the property from Al. So I think Al Joyce had you all had issued the order of conditions to him, and then I purchased the building the lot from him. So, so it was issued. It just wasn't issued to me.
I'll have to look at that, because normally we issue those electronically on EDEP. I'll have to take a look at that a little later. Dave, make a little note if you would, please, for me to investigate 165333.
I will, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Samantha. We'll follow up on that. Thank you so much.
Okay, so you guys you'll email me that copy, and then I'll have to.
We'll follow up with you, Samantha, for sure. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming tonight.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you. All the best.
The second item, Bill, we have for this evening is the 53 Porter Street site that we investigated this weekend.
Yes. Go ahead, Dave.
I guess what I'm wondering is, based on our investigation, should I just put notes into the record based on what we found? And
yes.
As a body, do we have to do anything more to send to the applicant?
I would recommend we send a letter on conservation letterhead, essentially releasing 53 Porter from the enforcement order, essentially closing out the enforcement order.
All right. Very good. I'll convey that to Kathy, and I guess you would have to sign it, correct?
Well, we will sign it as a group. Yeah, that will be fine. Okay. But I'll write something up. We just want this to be memorialized, though, right, so that 10 years from now, if these folks want to sell their house, there's no question whether or not there's an enforcement order that's been closed out. So we just want to close this thing out.
Great. All right.
Though interestingly enough, there's no official DEP form for the closeout of the EO. Oh. That's kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, because they have forms for everything else. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
The next one we have is 193 Amherst Street. It's a request for a certificate of compliance. And,
help me out on that one.
That's all I have. So she didn't.
Oh, excuse me, Dave. I think we should put that one down for a site visit on Saturday morning.
193 Amherst Street?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, Bill, I think that's the old Keysor farm.
Okay, okay. So that's Ashley Bowman, I believe, and I think she's actually initiating a second project, from what I understand. So we should go up there Saturday and get this one closed out.
Well, there's two sites. Remember, the old farm had a septic system that they replaced,
right?
And then there's one to the north is a new house.
That's the one that Brooksy permitted. Yeah, Brooksy was the permitter on that one. Yes,
and
yes. Okay.
Further south is that larger project, but that is still ongoing. I think the two construction sites are still going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So should Kathy reach out to them to schedule a visit, because we could do it at 9 o'clock, I suppose, on the 15th?
Yes. Yeah. Make a note or send a note to Kathy, Dave, that advise them we'll be there at 9 a.m. Saturday morning.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Now the fourth one on the item is GCC-21-03. It's an NOI number 165-30349. It's filed by Cold Spring Environmental Consultants Incorporated, representing Glenn Martin, who's the owner, for proposed barn/shed replacement in an existing grass structure area at an existing single-family home with regards to 177 State Street and known as map 3C-lot 9 in the town of Granby. I think there, Bill, from what Kathy told me, they were waiting for documentation from us so that they could start the demolition of the barn.
Yes, that's the one across the street from the old driving range, or the driving range, the current driving range, correct?
It's right on the corner, and they were taking down two structures to build one new structure. We did have a site visit, and it was the slope that had a lot of invasive potential, and we changed the shrub. They had a certain bush selected, and I think we were changing it to a different, or the suggestion was to change it to a different bush.
That's correct. So I suspect, I guess they're in the need of a order of conditions.
That's right.
Yeah,
Order of conditions.
we have to approve it too.
Well, I thought we already approved it.
Nope, we didn't approve it because unless you did the last meeting that I missed.
Dave, if you could check the minutes, please.
I'm checking the minutes right now. Based on the site visit. Okay. We based on the site visit, we said we would replace the high bush blueberry with elderberry plants, recommended live staking the plants for better chance of survival. And we also made a suggestion of 12 plants 6 feet on center behind the new barn location, separating the wetlands from the house and yard. Now I put that down as part of it would be part of the order of conditions. There was no comment about approving the project at that point. So what Wenda is saying, that would close out the public hearing portion, correct?
Well, if that's the case, if there's no new information to be gathered, we could close the public hearing tonight and then vote tonight.
I don't think there's anything new to be gathered because I don't know if anybody's representing the client here tonight either.
Yeah, it's Alan Weiss. I don't see Al on the agenda or on the laundry list here tonight.
Okay.
I recommend that we close the hearing and then vote, and then as far as modifications on the specials, we'll just modify as you had just stated, Dave, with the elderberry and the live stakes.
Right. Okay, I'll second your motion to close the public hearing.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the hearing is now closed, and this is 0349.
Yeah, yes, that's the number.
Yeah, Glenn Martin, 0349. Okay, so Dave, if you would once again read your notes with respect to modification to the planting schedule, and then we can memorialize that in the special conditions.
Okay. Based on our site visit, this project has been approved for building permit application with the following stipulations being added to the order of conditions. 1, replace the high bush blueberry with elderberry plants. 2, recommend live staking the plants to have a better chance for survival. And number 3, plant 12 plants 6 feet on centers behind the new barn location, which will separate the wetlands from the house, backyard / barn area.
Okay, that sounds good, Dave. Dave, if you could just...
Where are they being planted? They have wet feet?
Sorry, Wenda, say that again, please.
Where are they being planted? Are they going to have wet feet? If they don't have wet feet, they're not going to be happy.
Well, if they're planted at the base of that hill, they would have wet feet then, but I thought we had talked about planting them on the hillside.
Yeah, the hillside, I believe, is all fill. So they're going to have to be fairly aggressive plants to survive on that filled embankment.
Well, I guess Wenda is suggesting we direct them to plant them at the base of the hill then?
I don't know if that's his property.
Well,
yeah, I could see the blueberry surviving up top.
Yeah.
The elderberry want wet feet.
So the elderberry is facultative wet?
Yeah, I would think so.
I don't know, maybe Emily, I think Emily stepped away for a minute. We could get a comment from her. Emily.
yes, she may not be at.
Here she is. Hi, Emily. I think even though your microphone appears to be unmuted, I think it's still muted. Can't hear you.
No.
Okay, open it up again.
Here.
There you go. Nope. No audio so far.
No. Always the
Okay.
technology.
Oh, yes. Happens to the best
You
of
could
us.
ask the question and have her do a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Well, we need her for our ongoing project, so we have to resolve this technical issue.
Yeah. So I think the only question is where, number one, I guess, Wenda, what you're bringing up is the suggestion or recommendation that we made of changing the plant recommendation that's on the drawings from a high bush blueberry to a elderberry plant. Is that correct?
I'm questioning it. Yeah.
Yeah, let me ask. Yeah, Emily's I think she's gonna reboot her machine there. Kev, you might have a comment. Kevin, do you know anything about elderberry plants?
Yeah, they're kind of they'll kind of do well in the wild. They don't need a lot of care. They're kind of more wild than, something, grown by a farmer.
Okay, will they grow in a artificial fill embankment, or do they need high quality organic soils?
It probably wouldn't help, or it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt at all to do anything you can. But yeah, I think it'll.
Pretty
strong.
much any elderberry fairly I know grows in wet soils, and the ones we plant in Vermont are in wet soils. So
because I think that embankment at Martin's house is probably, and Dave, correct me if you feel differently, I think it's about an 8-foot high embankment, and the water table was at least maybe a foot below the lower floodplain. So he's probably, I bet you he's got 6-7 feet of vertical distance until he hits his water table there. So as Wenda says, it's going to be fairly dry there.
Yeah, I don't think they'll live.
Yeah, Emily, can you hear us? No, she's still trying to get her machine booted.
Yeah.
She did put a chat through, if you caught it, that elderberry is a wetland plant.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, there's a chat icon in the upper right-hand corner, and she put that in a text form.
Okay. Oh, it is? Okay, so that's fine. Okay. Okay, let me just.
So I think you're better off with those blueberries at that top of that slope.
Well, Emily says it's a wetland plant, so you're right. If that's the case, then I think the blueberries may have a better chance of survival.
Okay. Well, we can certainly update our notes at this point because they have not been sent out yet.
Right. So Dave, if you'd be so kind, just scribe up what you have, send it to me in any sort of format you wish, and when I craft up the order of conditions, I'll write the language accordingly, and we can review it next time.
Okay, real good.
Before issue. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next two.
Don't we have to close the meeting? Now we have to approve it, right?
Oh. Well, we're gonna approve it subject to tweaking the special conditions. So I think we can probably do that. How do you feel about that, Dave and Kevin?
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it. The applicant is anxious to get their project started, and I think this is holding up their ability to start the work. Is that
okay?
So the quicker we react, I think, is the better.
Okay, so I move that we approve 0349 Glen Martin, East State Street, subject to crafting special conditions, and we'll take care of that this week.
Okay, great. I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Emily, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, there she is. Okay, hi.
Okay,
Very good.
and we can hear you too, Emily.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, okay, good. That's closed out. Thank you. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Okay, numbers 5 and 6, Bill, are continued. Granby Conservation Commission 2101. Their notice of intent number 1650347, filed by William Chapdelaine for proposed construction of a single-family house and associated work within a BVW buffer zone with regards to Lot 1, West Street, and known as map 3-D-1 in the town of Granby.
Okay, very good. Okay, Emily's here. She's our technical consultant. I'd like to keep this as brief as possible. We got rather long-winded last meeting, which pushed our meeting out beyond 10 p.m. and I think that's unacceptable. So I'd like to be very concise here tonight on both of these lots. So Dave, would you prefer to go lot 1 first or lot 2 first?
Well, the agenda shows lot 1 first, and they're very similar, so I suggest we follow the agenda.
Okay, so why don't we discuss lot 1 and then we'll go lot 2. I think last weekend, was it last weekend or the weekend before we went out there, Dave?
2 weekends ago.
Okay, 2 weekends ago, Dave, myself, and Amanda did site visits to the former Chapdelaine or the current Chapdelaine properties on West Street in Granby, known as lots 1 and 2. There's some administrative danglings on both of those projects, and there's some technical issues on at least one of the projects. So what I'm going to do, we've hired Emily Stockman Associates to do a technical peer review for us. So I'm going to turn it over to Emily, and then we can let it flow in this fashion. But again, it's 8:04. I would like to finish up lot 1 by 8:20 at the latest and go immediately to lot 2. So Emily, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Certainly. Hopefully everyone can still hear me.
Yeah, a little bit of feedback, but I can hear you fine.
At the last meeting, I had an opportunity to present my peer review comment on both lots. Subsequent to that, there was significant discussion during the public hearing. My understanding that the remaining items to be addressed have to do with the proximity of the work to the wetland resource area, concerns regarding the completeness of a grading plan, questions about the proximity of the wells that's being proposed close to erosion controls and the extent of water, slurry, what have you, that is necessary for the drilling of the well. And then I believe there are also questions regarding the citation of the deed for both the properties and whether or not there are some restrictions on those deeds that are still valid today.
Okay, so Emily, let's just follow up on the deed, on the administrative items to start with. And Heather knows this, and I'm sure Bill Chapdelaine and Andy Crane knows this as well. There was a superseding order issued on the adjacent lot to the west of lot 1 back in 2004. And there was a superseding order issued by Robert McCullum when Bob was head of the wetlands group. And it essentially called out that particular stream as an intermittent stream. However, it had been reported and advised as a perennial stream by the Granby Conservation Commission on at least one occasion back in the 1990s. I think there were 2 NOIs filed. One was in '98, pursuant to the development, I believe, of 2 or 3 homes across the street from the current Granby highway garage. And there was another NOI issued pursuant to the installation of a rather large leach field to serve the Chateau Harmony itself. I believe the commission issued an order of conditions which also stated that the stream have no work in an inner riparian zone. So when one read that, one said, aha, inner riparian zone must be perennial. Now, bear in mind that project, particularly the ones in 97 and 98, were only within a couple of years of the promulgation of the Rivers Act in, I believe, late 1996 by the department. Now, here's the stick in the mud on this one. If you take the superseding order verbatim and you say, aha, DEP called out that stream as intermittent in 2004, which would seem to trump the Granby Commission's declaration back in the 90s, then that administrative part of the project is essentially over. However, that erroneous order of conditions with that particular language has been filed and recorded at the Registry of Deeds. Now, I talked to one of our other commissioners today about this project, and I think there's still enough uncertainty regarding that particular matter that we actually want to have our town council take a look at it on our behalf.
Can I speak too?
Sure, go ahead, Wenda.
So when that church put their new church in across from Chateau Harmony, Simpson said, why didn't you make them file an NOI, because they were within 200 feet of riverfront, their driveway across the street.
Okay, I don't know exactly. You're talking about the church across the street from Dressel's?
Yeah, in there. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's
it's on
a
the
different
corner there. It's on the corner.
Yeah, I think that's a different water. I think that's a different waterway, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, all right. I think it's just down
Point
further.
well taken. Point well taken. So Emily, go ahead with any further comment on your end, please.
Thank you, Bill. I believe I summarized the outstanding items. At this time, I haven't seen a response from the discussion during.
I'm sorry, Emily. I can't understand a word you're saying, Emily. I think we're sliding into oblivion again.
Yeah, Emily, I think if you move your laptop, or with respect to your Wi-Fi, I think your signal to your Wi-Fi may be compromised a touch. So if you move your equipment around a little bit, you might be able to find a sweet spot for the signal. Nope, her signal's dropped out completely now.
Yeah.
I think she can, isn't there a telephone call-in option, Dave, with this go-to meeting?
That's what I am on.
Oh, you're on the telephone?
Yeah, okay. So there is an option that people can call in.
Okay. Emily, would you be kind enough to call in on the telephone? Would that work okay? Oh, okay. Okay, all right, she's going to call in on the telephone then, guys. So we'll hear from Emily in a couple of moments.
Could I add, speak to the deed restrictions?
Yeah, go ahead, Heather.
If the commission issued an order of conditions for the property to the west of Lot 1, and then so if you issued an order of conditions back in 2003, I don't see where the like the precedence is.
Well, no, here's the issue. Here's the issue, Heather. And again, I'm not a licensed attorney. However, here's what happened. They had the order of conditions issued in '98, which called it out as perennial. Okay. Then they went to, and that was recorded. That was recorded at the Registry of Deeds. Then the folks to the west in 2004 had an NOI issued. Now, the question is, I think that NOI was issued and recorded at the registry as well. So that was recorded. That was recorded at the registry prior to DEP issuing the superseding order. See, that's the problem, because I think there's a problem with the way the language was recorded at the registry. So that's why we need a lawyer to hash that out. You may prevail. You guys may prevail on this, but we want to be very, very careful how we proceed.
Yeah, but at whose expense? Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. How you doing, Bill? Thanks.
Oh, how you doing, AJ? Good.
Good. So I don't understand what any other parcel's deed has to do with our potential lot breakoffs. Maybe I'm just not following. Like any abutters or anything like that. It doesn't matter what they have recorded on the deed as far as, you know, I don't get where you're coming up with that. I'm sorry.
No. I know where you're coming from, because your argument is the superseding order essentially called that stream out as intermittent, and so that should be end of discussion. But the problem is there were documents filed at the registry which may conflict with the superseding order, and we want to make sure that everybody is squeaky clean with respect to the interpretation. So as far as attorney's fees, it would be the town attorney. It would be the town of Granby that would foot the bill for this. You guys wouldn't be footing the bill for this.
No, I understand, but I mean, there's a time value of money, right? I mean, we have those lots.
Well, that's the other stuff. That's another issue in itself. You're right there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I understand the commission's concern. However, I mean, there are superseding conditions given all the time. Like, for example, anything registered in the Registry of Deeds is date-based, right? So, for example, if we, right now in the Registry of Deeds, it's one large parcel. The second that we register these new lots, assuming that you guys give us permission, these lots are considered broken off. Now, that doesn't mean that if you look back and at those dates, that's one parcel. There's no legal issue there.
Well, again, I'm not an attorney. That's why I'd like to have our attorney take a look at this.
Well, all due respect, that we filed in February. We've been continued 3 times. There was no site visit until 2 weeks ago after we had a peer review. I don't think that we're being overly fair here. And if there was a deed issue, I feel like it should have been brought up in February or whenever. We could have been done by now.
Okay, no, that's fine. Again, that's the administrative side of it. As far as Lot 1, personally, I have no problem with the technical build out of Lot 1 from a civil engineering perspective. However, Lot 2, I've got a couple of issues with Lot 2. Emily will recite some of those. The one I'm really concerned about is if you go down the proposed driveway and you look at the ravine, there's essentially a vertical cut in the earth, which is being held together by the tree roots. And I think that's an unstable slope. And I really want somebody to take a look at that that's a geotechnical engineer and offer an opinion and essentially a warranty how they would treat that if that slope ever becomes unstable. Again, it's not on its angle of repose, AJ. It's like this, you know, it's not at a 30-degree angle. It's essentially a vertical cut. And I took some photos when I was out there 2 weeks ago to memorialize that, and those weren't those weren't clearly evident on the site plan.
So that's fine. I guess which agenda item are we on? Lot 1 or Lot 2? And which
This is
issue are we
Mark.
on? Are we on the
This
deed
is Lot
issue or are
2.
we on?
This is Lot 2. Listen,
I thought we were on Lot 1. That's the first on the issue.
It's 17 after. It's 17 after on Lot 1. Emily, are you on the telephone?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead, Emily. Now, fire away.
In regards to lot 1 or lot 2, Beth?
We're talking about Lot 1 right now.
Are we?
Yeah, go ahead.
I understood that you were having difficulties with we were having difficulties with my audio. So I'll just restate the summary from earlier this evening. So based on the public hearing discussion of last week, the remaining items to be addressed for lot 1 were concerns about the grading shown on the plans of record, the proximity of the work to the wetland boundary, impacts of the well drilling, and I believe you guys have delved into the legal status of the deeds and various restrictions.
Okay, that's pursuant to Lot 1 and Lot 2 or Lot 1, Emily?
Well, it's pursuant to both, but I'm focusing on lot 1 since that's the agenda item we're on.
Oh, okay. Have you conveyed this in writing to Heather?
These are comments from my April 10th peer review letter and the subsequent conversation that took place with all parties at the public hearing last month.
Okay.
There's been no updated materials submitted by the applicant or the representative based on last month's discussion.
Okay. Heather, would you be able to offer written responses to those questions?
Can I reply verbally?
I think we'd like, well, you can reply verbally, but we'd like you to also memorialize it in a written set of statements.
The proximity to the wetland is at the closest point, I believe it's 25 feet. And the grading associated with that is been armored, or not armored, but stabilized. It will be stabilized with erosion control blankets to prevent erosion.
Okay, are you talking about Lot 1 or Lot 2?
Lot 1.
Okay, go ahead.
So the proximity at 25 feet with erosion control blankets on the slopes, I feel that that is stable enough to prevent erosion or alteration to the wetland. The wells are proposed within the silt fence line, and so sediment that comes up from the well when it's being drilled can be handled by the silt fence. If you would like, we can put straw bales around that to provide additional, maybe that can be added in the order of conditions.
Well, one thing, Emily and Heather, so from the proposed well drilling location to the nearest wetland, how many feet is it?
It is 31 feet.
So it's 31 feet from the proposed well drilling site to the wetland. And so Emily, do you feel that the drilling mud would be better retained by encircling the drilling area with staked straw bales?
Yeah, so the concern there is just the sheer volume of hundreds of gallons of water that need to be used to drill the well, and that there's typically the creation of a slurry pit. And the well location, although it's quite a ways, 30-something feet from the wetland boundary, it's also right up against the silt fence. I mean, I just don't think that there's enough of a diameter around the proposed well to truly accommodate the action of drilling a well. It seems that erosion control will be, you know, that the limit of work would have to be pushed out to accommodate the drill as it's presented on the plan. The well.
Okay. Okay, Heather, would you and your technical staff, along with your engineer, come up with some details to help mitigate Emily's concerns?
Well, temporarily we could move the silt fence closer to the wetland to allow additional room, but have the permanent limit of work line be where it is now. It'll just allow additional area for the slurry around the well.
Yeah, I don't think that's sufficient. Emily, what's your opinion of that approach?
Typically there would be a slurry pit, so there's something of an excavation, as well as the erosion control measures that Heather just spoke to.
Okay, Heather, would you be kind enough to have your engineer draft a couple of details to illustrate that?
Do we have to continue it because of that?
I think lot one, I think that'd be prudent. Again, I could put it up for a vote with the commish.
We can dig a pit on the far side. Every single well driller digs a pit that's deeper than the adjacent grade.
Is that something
we can dig it on the far side? This is a pretty common thing.
Is that something that could be added to the order of conditions, that slurry pit be dug on the westerly side of the well?
Yeah, since that detail wasn't included for the commission within the plans of record, one way to address it is through a special condition.
Okay, but we can consider that. So are those the only technical concerns, Emily, on lot one that are still outstanding?
I think it would be helpful if Heather and her team could speak to the proposed grading, particularly the questions about the rear of the proposed building, whether or not there's going to be any grading on that side or associated with the deck or the patio. It looks like we go from an elevation of 100, and then I don't know if we're just, I think the next contour that's shown is a 98. So I don't know if that grading has been finished on the, sorry, I'm trying to zoom in. Is this only, I think it's on the southeast side.
Yeah. So I think that will be on grade, proposed on grade. So at the 98, or it's a little bit above the 98. So that entire area is fairly flat at around 98 to 99. And so it'll be, the deck and the patio will be on grade.
And there'll be no grading around the rear of the house?
I don't, well, to install the footings, but then it will be returned to that original grade. Can I also speak a little bit more to the deed restriction? In the superseding order of conditions, there's a letter that I received from Mark, the request for superseding order of conditions, and it has a letter attached to it and the special conditions. And it says in here that a previous order of conditions inaccurately determined that the intermittent stream was perennial and therefore it imposed riverfront area protection standards on the lot. The riverfront area protection standards were never enacted and the order of conditions expired. Because there is no riverfront area at the site, there is no reason to require riverfront area protection standards to the work currently proposed.
See, I don't think that's correct. I believe, and Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there was something pertaining to those 1998 lots, which was recorded at the registry. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement that present day we're reviewing this stream as an intermittent stream and not under the riverfront standards. The challenge is that these lots were part of remaining lands on site plans that are referenced for various other deeds and orders, at least one of which had a condition in perpetuity. And I think that's the commission's legal question, whether or not they have to adhere to that restriction or if they're able to revisit the properties anew. So it's a deeded condition in perpetuity.
Was the lot to the west that is the subject of the superseding order of conditions, was that lot part of the original parcel?
I believe so. And
so the commission issued an order of conditions for it and approving the house, and then an abutter appealed it, and then DEP issued the superseding order of conditions. So it seems to me that the original order of conditions with that deed restriction in perpetuity does not apply if DEP has already issued superseding order of conditions allowing work within that area.
A lawyer might very well, Heather, come to that conclusion, but as far as I can see, we have no licensed attorneys on this board at this time. So I think the prudent thing to do on behalf of the community is to get an opinion from a licensed attorney in the Commonwealth.
So you're saying that a parcel that has nothing to do with our parcels have a deed restriction that is going to hang over these potential parcels?
Yeah, AJ, this is with respect to the major parcel that Mr. Chapdelaine bought from LaFlamme many years ago. Again, I'm not an attorney. This is land law. This is land law stuff. I'm not an expert in land law. We got to have an attorney that's a land law attorney delve into this further. Kevin, any comments on your end?
It's already been broken though.
Yeah.
Since DEP issued that superseding order for, is it 51 West Street?
Yeah, but just because DEP issued it doesn't mean that it's legally correct. That's the problem. That's the problem.
What? God. So you guys are willing to continue this again, even though this is
we're gonna have to. But what I would do.
Why didn't it come up in February?
Let's talk about lot 2 if we could. It's 8:30 now. Let's talk a little bit of lot 2. Let's not talk about administrative because it's the same kettle of fish, but let's talk a little bit about the technical issues on lot 2. So what you can do is hopefully answer some of our technical questions on lot 2 while we're hashing out the administrative problems on both lots. Does that sound like a good idea to you, Emily? Go ahead.
Yeah, that sounds fine to move on to lot 2.
Okay, okay. So why don't we opine, Emily, if you would opine a bit on lot 2 at this point, if we could. It's 8:32 now.
Are you continuing
Yeah.
lot 1? They're separate agenda items.
We can continue them both at the same time. You want us to continue it right now, AJ?
I don't want you to continue it at all.
Okay, well, let's talk about lot 2 and then we'll continue both in one shot. So go ahead on lot 2, Emily.
Can we ask for a vote?
Sure.
So, AJ, this is Emily. So, Bill, I was just going to interject, and AJ did. So, if the applicant is not interested in continuing, the commission has no authority to continue because it's at the request of the applicant. So, if a continuance has not been agreed upon, the commission is going to need to close the hearing, which will end the discussion, and then the commission will need to vote either to approve or deny the permit.
Right, and we can appeal. We can appeal based on a baseless continuance, right?
It won't be baseless.
I'm sure that your consultant will guide you on the various avenues for you to appeal, but you absolutely have the right to appeal.
Heather?
You have the right to appeal if the project is denied.
I mean, what's the difference? If the appeal now is going to take 6 months for the town's attorney to review it.
Yeah. Emily, question for you. Do we have 21 days to vote on this after we close, or do we have more than 21 days?
You close and you vote, and then you have 21 days to issue the order of conditions.
But if we vote to deny, can we close and then vote to deny next meeting, or do we close and vote to deny tonight?
You would close and vote tonight, and then you'd have 21 days to issue the paperwork.
Okay. Well, let's get opinions from some of the other members. Kevin, what's your thought on this?
Yeah, this is a very sensitive subject. It's been ongoing since February. We have very, very concerned neighbors. We need to get the attorneys involved. This is it's some pretty serious stuff. There's a huge disagreement between intermittent and perennial streams. I mean, this is we had it peer reviewed.
Hold on. Hey, this is Ed Chapdelaine talking. Can I interject here for a second?
Yeah, Ed, just for the record, just state that you're not related to Mr. William Chapdelaine.
I am not related to Mr. Chapdelaine, Bill Chapdelaine.
Go ahead, Ed.
So Bill, I think Emily was saying we either have to ask the applicant for an continuation. If the applicant doesn't want to continue, then we can either we need to vote on it and move forward. So, I mean, I think we need to ask the applicant if he's available, or the representative, which would be, I believe, Heather Comey, if we can ask for an extension to the next meeting. I think when you guys requested some details on that wellhead, how the wellhead is going to be drilled and so on, that I think is legitimate request, but we need to ask the applicant for an extension. If they don't want to grant it, or continuation rather, then we'll have to make a decision. But that's my 2 cents on it.
No, you're right. You're right. Wenda, any comments on your end?
No.
Okay, short and sweet. So AJ, you're requesting us to close the hearing tonight. You do not want to continue?
Can I ask, so the commission has asked for a response in writing. I thought that we had addressed Ms. Stockman's comments at the previous hearing, but now it's on the table that you want something in writing. Is that?
I'd like you just to simply memorialize how you're going to treat the slurry from the well drilling operation on that technical and on lot one.
So in writing, just about the well Slurry?
Yeah, all it needs to be is have your engineer drop a little cut sheet with some sketches and plans and elevations, depth, volumes for the slurry, and attach that as an addendum to your submittal plan. You don't have to redo the entire submittal plan. You can attach this as an addendum.
So AJ, that right there, because they're asking for something, additional information in writing, that is something that they can deny it on based on that.
Yeah, no, I get it. Additional versus, additional information for volume on a well slurry pit on a residential house. Got it. Ridiculous. Okay.
Heather, can I interject here? Ed Chapdelaine. Heather,
ahead.
you represent Mr. Bill Chapdelaine, I'm guessing, correct?
Yes.
So you have, Mr. Crane, I don't know if you have the authority to request or grant the continuation. I'm assuming that, I know you're probably working the project, I'm assuming now. So I don't know if Heather, if you're in contact with Bill Chapdelaine, or you have the authority to make the decision on the continuation, or
I do.
request, or Heather, if you have the authority to do the continuation or request for a vote.
Yeah, and
Thank
Bill is, I can see Bill in the audience, and I can't speak for him directly right now, but I believe that he would go with whatever AJ is willing to go with.
Yeah, I don't mean to speak over you, Ed, but Mr. Chapdelaine has authorized me to make any decisions on his behalf, for the record.
That's fine, AJ. I just wanted, because I know you're not the applicant, or the owner is Mr. Chapdelaine, and Heather's the
Correct.
representative, but I can appreciate that. That's fine. Thank you.
And no, we're not working the project. I'm just working on his behalf. These aren't our projects, but I do know that he has a lot sold for 3 or 4 months now, and it's embarrassing. But that's
okay. I can appreciate that, AJ.
I find it. We'll go with the continuance, even though I absolutely disagree with it. We've done everything that we've asked. The site visit hasn't happened until after the peer review, and I find it ridiculous that a new issue has come up after 3 months, a new deed issue that's apparently been in place since the 90s, which we could have got settled by now. So we'll go with the continuance. Fine. That's
okay.
Whatever you guys. It's just
Okay,
it costs good people good houses.
Duly noted, AJ. Thank you. Okay, I move that we continue lot 1 until June.
Bill, this is Emily. Could I interject
Yes.
for just a moment?
Go ahead, Em.
I think it's very important that the commission clearly state at this time the open concerns that they have, if any, beyond the slurry from the well, to the applicant and the representative, so that there's a clear guide to what the commission is asking for and what needs to be responded to.
Thank you. That's an excellent.
The concept of concerns with the deed was a conversation that I heard for the first time at the public hearing 2 months ago. And after the last public hearing, I was directed by the commission to do further research on this. So anyone who's been in attendance at least the last 2 public hearings knows that this has been a concern. And at any time, the applicant could have produced additional information to the commission. The concept of questions with the well and the grading and the proximity, Ms. Comey did an excellent job responding to our initial peer review letter, but there was subsequent discussion last month, and there were additional questions that were raised that were answered. So I think from a communication standpoint, it's very important that the commission clearly state to the applicant and the representative what they are looking for, so that this doesn't happen again in a month.
I think well said, Emily. We'll take that as the record. So the 2 issues are sediment containment from well drilling. That's the technical issue 1. Number 2 is the legitimacy of the way the deed is set up with respect to the order of conditions, the historical order of conditions.
Bill,
Which mentioned that the town's attorney would look into, correct?
hold on, AJ. Yeah, Bill.
You know what you could do, AJ? Yeah. In order to expedite, again,
right,
we'll query the town attorney to take a look at this. But if you would have your own attorney look at it, maybe your own attorney can do it in a much quicker fashion.
Of course he was. We just throw money at him.
Well, it doesn't say we're going to agree with his opinion, though. That's the point.
Bill, but I think we said that we take care of it on our side. So I think if we ask the town attorney to look at it, we can. If he doesn't respond in a timely manner, then we should just disregard it at that point. But
the problem that I found is some towns try to do 4453G accounts to pay for attorneys, but you're really not supposed to do it that way. So that's why we actually have to use town council for this. Otherwise, we could 4453G this. But I think we have to get clarity. We have to get clarity and consistency on this deed situation from the administrative point of view, and two, the technical issue with respect to the well drilling operations and proximity and containment of sediment is the technical item of concern on lot 1. So again, with your permission, AJ, we'd like to continue this hearing until June 8th at 7:30. So are you guys good with that, Heather?
I'm waiting to hear what AJ has to say.
Okay.
I think he agreed earlier in the meeting, but AJ, if you can reiterate.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Okay, thank you. Hold on, he hasn't mentioned.
Yeah, again, continue.
Okay. I move we continue. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of continuing lot 1 until June 8th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Very good. Okay, that's done. Okay, let's go to lot 2. And again, it's 8:45. I want to get this wrapped up in a couple of minutes here. Emily, let's talk about lot 2 now from a technical perspective. Again, we don't have to reiterate the administrative stuff at this point.
Okay. So this is Emily speaking. So very similar to lot 1, our peer review letter went out in April. Ms. Comey did an excellent job of responding to those comments with increased erosion controls and some additional information regarding the project. But there were still several questions raised during the public hearing. According to my notes, again, the topic of the well came up. There was also a concern because in this instance, the work is closer to the BVW boundary. So the grading questions, again, went beyond just stabilizing slopes with erosion control and delved more into the accuracy of contours and the effect of the grading and the clearing on drainage. It's also my understanding that subsequent to that hearing, there was a site visit by the commission, and there were some additional concerns about slope stabilization. And I'm going to let you speak to that specifically, Bill, but in regards to removing trees and stabilizing root systems and destabilizing some slopes over to the north, I believe it was. And then, of course, the legal status, which we've already discussed at length. So those were the items that I had written down as discussion during the last public hearing that we haven't received a response to at this time.
Okay, Heather.
I spoke with the engineer to see if we could do retaining walls, and he indicated that to do retaining walls, it would add extensive cost onto the project. And And so we decided not to do the retaining walls. The grades, I had it written down. I think the grades were like 6-to-1, which isn't very steep. And I felt that erosion control, biodegradable erosion control blankets would handle any potential erosion from the grading.
Now you're talking about the embankment around the house, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
I understand, this is Emily speaking, if I may, through the chair. I certainly understand that those erosion control blankets can be purchased suitable for the slope. It was my understanding from the previous discussion that the concerns regarding the grading had to relate to changes in drainage patterns and the potential impact on the hydrology of the wetland. And so I believe that the applicant was going to, and perhaps it's my misunderstanding, was going to speak a little bit more to where water was going to flow after the grading and how that may or may not impact the adjacent wetland.
Okay, I'm going to turn this to Kevin Shoemaker. Kevin is our Kev, if you have an embankment, i.e. a elevated tee in a golf course, and you plant grass and you pound it with heavy nitrogen fertilizer, what happens to the fertilizer?
Yeah, it washes out.
Yeah, see,
runs off.
That's a concern, Heather. Again, not to be picayune, but again, that would constitute alteration of the wetland. Again, I'd love to see this house go in on the flat without an embankment. I don't really understand why you need an embankment there. I know you didn't want to put in a pump leach field, but I think it would be much less costly putting in a pump system and saving your money on your fill. And by the way, I think the slope, again, I don't have access to the plan tonight because our Dropbox is down, but I believe the contours are steeper than 6-to-1. I think they're probably 4-to-1, if not 3-to-1 in that slope area. Emily, do you have the plan set in front of you?
I have it as a PDF. Yep.
Okay. Could you measure the slope of the embankment coming off the area around the house?
I don't believe that I can do that off the PDF. I think Heather has a hard copy and a scale with her.
Yeah, and so the slope is 5 feet change in grade over 30 feet.
So 5 feet elevation, 30 feet horizontal?
That's 6-to-1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's 1 in 6.
Yes, I believe that's what Heather stated earlier.
Yeah, again, I'd like to see that for myself because I remember looking at that plan. The contours looked a lot tighter than that to me.
Yeah,
Ed, you don't have the
around the septic, it is it's much tighter, but
yeah.
that area is not adjacent to the wetland. That's in the back area. It's 100 feet from the wetland.
Yeah. Standard practice off a leach field embankments is 3-to-1. That's standard practice. So it would be a 17-degree angle, which is a 3-to-1 slope. Okay. Anyway, the bottom line is, I think what one of the concerns of the commission is of fertilizers and other materials washing into the wetland. Again, that's something that can be easily mitigated. But again, this is driven by the fact that we have an embankment fairly close to the wetland. So that's technical item 1. Now the other one that there are 2 other issues.
Address Emily more specifically about the change in slope. And currently the area drains to the wetland. And after the project goes in, those grades will continue to drain towards the wetland. It will be, albeit at a greater rate, because of the change in slope. But the water isn't going to be, it's not going to change the amount of water going to the wetland area.
That is true. Actually, Heather, you sent me a PDF at 9 o'clock at our last meeting, so I should actually have the raw PDF from you. So I'm going to actually look at it right here. So please stand by. Now, proximity of the well to the wetland on lot 2. Let's speak to that a little bit if we could.
Yeah, and so the well is proposed inside the silt fence, just like the other lot. At this section or area of the site, the silt fence is 16 feet from the wetland area. We can add a slurry pit onto it and have the engineer develop some specs.
Yeah, let's take a look. Let me take a look at this one. Oh yeah, okay, yes, yeah, the well is very, very close to V7. It's near V7. Okay, I got you. Yep. Yeah, again, the same sketch that you used for lot 1, Heather, you can probably redevelop for lot 2. So you can get double use out of that. So that would be fine. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm
Bill,
looking
if
at
I may just circle back to the grading before we leave that topic.
Yeah. Yes.
The current landscape has a break in it based on the existing contours that are shown on the plan. So there is a portion of flow that goes towards the T series wetland, and then there's another portion of flow that currently goes through towards the V series wetland. So there is a question as to whether or not this grading is going to alter the hydrology to either one or both of them by changing that dispersion. The other grading question that came up during the last public hearing was the driveway. And Heather, could you clarify for the commission and myself, is there any grading proposed with the driveway? Or is there going to be any crayons or any swales associated with that are going to also alter drainage patterns?
I don't show it. The driveway does not show any change in grades.
So the applicant is aware that the driveway will be put in at grade then? With no cross culverts or crowning or swales?
The whole area is really flat. I don't believe that cross culverts would be necessary. And it's really well drained soils. I don't think that cross culverts would be necessary. If we are going to be continuing this again, then I can have the engineer look to see if he recommends adding any grades to the driveway, but as it's shown, there are no changes to the grade.
Okay.
It does appear that there are some changes at the terminus of the driveway. The grading around the proposed building goes right through the driveway. So I think that would be important to have clarified.
Oh, right at the house, you mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
It looks like the driveway ends with a 6-to-1 slope.
Mm-hmm.
I confirmed it is 6-to-1. Now, one question I have, Heather, very important, is walking down the driveway to the south, looking to the right, the elevation change where the ravine is cut is not depicted on this plan at all. I'd like you to have your engineer take a look at that, maybe refine some of the elevations in the vicinity of that ravine, which again is being supported, in my opinion, by the roots of a lot of living trees. And I'd like your engineer and maybe your geotechnical engineer take a look at what would happen to that slope in the event those trees do not survive. Because again, that's a very deep cut. I have a photo of it. I'd like to share the photo of it with you, but we don't have that capability tonight. But there's some grades on that adjacent to the driveway which aren't depicted on the plan, and I'd like those to be revisited if you'd be so kind.
Are you talking about within the wetland boundaries, I'm assuming?
I'm assuming when we walked down our little path, when we did the site visit 2 weeks ago, walking south, it was apparent to me that if that slope had collapsed and attained its angle of repose, which would be on the order of 30 degrees, essentially the driveway would end up in the ravine. So I want your engineer to take a look at that and run some analyses.
So you're talking about the area like along the wetland line from like V4 to V7, which area?
Yeah, let me, hold on 1 second. This file keeps closing and I have to reopen it. I'm looking at V3, V4, V5 in that area. It seems to me as that the ravine is very close to the driveway, which is not depicted, in my opinion, on the mapping.
I believe that ravine, though, is within the wetland boundaries.
Well, still, it appeared to me on the walkthrough 2 weeks ago that your proposed driveway is really close to the ravine. That's the point I had.
Because it looks like it's about 50 feet away, maybe a little bit closer, right at the road.
Yeah, again, I'd like your person in the field to go out there and confirm that things are going to be okay in the event of a slope collapse at a later date, because again, the vegetation is supporting that slope, in my opinion, currently.
Okay.
Dave, did you recall seeing that when we were on the site visit 2 weeks ago?
I did, Bill, and the ravine that I remember was very close to the creek. But I think and where we walked, if you look at the drawing that we have, it says 25-foot BVW buffer. That's about the path where we walked. The driveway, as they're showing it, is proposed to be just a couple feet off of the property line. So we didn't walk there. That's very close to, and actually I'm even unsure where that property line is because it's just a mowed grass line. So for all I know, that current driveway might be part of the lawn of what the neighbor is using. So
yeah,
we don't know where that driveway is proposed, and the drawing makes it look like it's quite a distance from the creek, which is where that ravine is.
That's right. That's why, again, I'd like that to be revisited by Heather's engineer.
The challenge I have is after I've walked on the site and I look at this drawing, there's a big disconnect between the grades and what I saw. And
yes, sir.
It's almost like it's two different, I've looked at, and I don't know who the people are that created the drawing. I'm not casting any doubt here, but I'm looking at a grade that says 95, a couple grades that say 95, which to me would say that this is a relatively flat area, which I recall it was, as Heather mentions. But then as we go towards the house, the grades that the house was sitting on just sit on top of the existing grade without any tie-in. So I'm confused as far as where is the house? I know where it's located geographically, but I don't see any elevation connection other than what is superimposed on top of the existing grade. So it's very confusing, and the drawing does not reflect very well. I think this was created by some overmap. It wasn't created by somebody actually walking the site, is what it gives me the impression of. I hope I'm wrong on that, but
the grades were shot in the field, but not within the wetland boundaries.
so the grades that are shown in the wetland boundaries, where did they come from?
I think those were just extended.
Because normally water will follow the contour. So we've got contours that the water is going by. So anyway, it's a little confusing at best. I'm having a hard time with
Eddie
it.
Chapp's bringing it up right now. Ed's bringing up the plan set right now. But Heather, I'd appreciate if you could have your engineer revisit that and fine tune some of those grades, please. Mm-hmm. And particularly, again, I'm concerned that escarpment, that the vertical cut in the ravine, if that lets go, that driveway could end up in the river. And so we got to be careful about that.
Yeah, because I have a question here. Well, William, this is Jake Lemke here. I got a question here. Heather even mentioned it too, that, yeah, we're going to be bringing in fill. We're going to be raising up the land, obviously, however high it's going to be. But the watershed's going to also come off that raised structure, which is also now going to run more water towards the ravine that I agree with you is very sharp, and it will eventually wash the ravine out and the driveway out. So where Heather was saying, well, yeah, there's gonna be more water going to the wetlands area, but then she said at the same time that it's not. Well, if the land is flat, the rainwater is going to be absorbed into the soil, not being pushing it. Now you raise it up. Now you're pushing that water into the ravine area, which gives it more ways to want to wash that ravine out and lose the driveway.
Hold on, before we move forward, please identify yourself and your address, please.
Jacob Lemke, 27 West Street.
Okay, so are you near the subject property?
I'm a butter. I'm in the butter.
Okay. Are you? I just want to know. Again,
hey guys, it's Gabe Hula, 51 West.
Yeah, listen, Gabe, it's pushing 9 o'clock. We really got into trouble last time because we put this thing till 10 o'clock.
I just need 30 seconds.
Yeah. All right. So, Mr. Lemke, you live in number 18. It says now or formerly of Sawyer. You live in Sawyer's old house?
No, I live in 27.
27 West Street.
Yeah, where the water feeds all that wetlands out there.
Okay, so are you on the north side of the street or the south side of the street?
I'm on the same side as Ray Sawyer.
Okay, all right, okay, Gabe, just make a quick point if you would, please.
Oh, real quick, back to the April meeting, I got together with 5 of the neighbors. We never heard the outcome that you had asked Heather of how many trees are going to come down. That was never brought up to this date. Also, I think Dave hit the nail on the head. It's all within the topography, as that lot 1 just does not show a clear depiction of how you're jamming, which Heather noted a very large home in the last meeting on this tiny little lot, and the blue flags are back there. And the big drop off of 10 to 15 feet from the lot 2 land down to the stream. It's all within the topography, and that wasn't shown on any of this stuff. And
okay, Gabe.
Lastly, our deeds do say that we can't build a structure within 200 feet, and I do believe that in writing. If you have something like that recorded in 1998, order conditions, registry of deeds, that'll hold up in a court of law. So
again, that's where we've got licensed attorneys looking at this.
Hey, I'm glad you guys are doing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabe, and thank you, Mr. Lemke. Dave, if you would, would you go back in the minutes from our last meeting and see if we did ask Heather for a tree cut count?
I'm looking right now, Bill.
Okay, we'll stand by for you. Not to put the heat on you.
I know.
So Heather, those are your technical items for lot 2, if you'd be so kind. And I'm assuming that you'll allow us to continue this till June?
Yeah, I'm still waiting to see. You do want me to find out, count how many trees will be cut? There'll be whatever's within the silt fence.
Oh, okay, well, Dave's going to look at the minutes and see if we memorialize that. So just bear with us for one moment. Thank you.
I have the comment here that the question of tree count was brought up, but I don't have any direction that we gave to Heather requesting how many trees would be removed for, and I believe we're only speaking of lot 1 here, or would that be also for lot 2?
No, Dave, it's lot 2. Lot 2 and lot 1 are totally different. A lot of trees.
Yeah,
in
we're
lot
not
2.
discussing lot 1.
Okay, then it's for lot 1 only, lot 2 only.
Well, again, I'll leave it up to the.
I don't have a request of Heather to document the tree counts.
Okay. All right. How does the commission feel on this? Ed, Kevin, Wenda?
From my observations, I was out there on March 9th, took a look at some of the trees. I didn't notice what conditions they're in, so I'm not sure how critical it is to locate every tree, but a quick count, I guess, would satisfy the comment of how many trees would be cut in that area. I guess over maybe 8 inches in diameter. Anything below 8 inches in diameter shouldn't be counted. Give a marching order to that effect, but because the brush, you're not going to be counting brush or anything, saplings or anything like that. So
Okay,
yeah, I agree. Yep.
Okay,
The long driveway. Yep.
Yeah, Kev, you're the tree cutting expert. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, unless there was a way to get a percentage, of tree coverage that would be cut down. Just another way to quantify it.
Yeah, again, the advisory from DEP and MACC and a lot of the environmental groups, not that they're always correct, but again, that's a potential alteration of a wetland. If you've got a wetland that is shaded, the temperature of the water is down, the temperature of the soil is down, you do vast tree cutting, you change the hydrology, you change the sun exposure, you change the evapotranspiration rate. So there's some scientific reasons for documenting tree cutting. So again, I asked the commission, should we have Heather provide that data as requested by Abe or not?
I think it's a valid point.
Okay. Kevin, you think it's valid to have that information on file?
Yes.
Okay. Heather, that's the answer.
So when you get the data though, how is that gonna be like interpreted, or because once you get that data, are we gonna then have to revise plans? What is there like a limit of?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah, so I can speak a little bit to that, Bill, if you'd like me to.
No, go ahead, Emily. Emily's on the horn. Go ahead, Em.
So the 1053-1 is the portion of the regulations that talks about buffer zone impacts and the potential adverse impacts to adjacent resource areas. And with any application, the burden of proof is on the applicant and the representative to demonstrate that the removal of trees or any impact is not going to have an adverse impact. I think it's important that if there is going to be a tree count, that there's attention paid to the proximity of trees in relationship to the wetlands, and also the overall buffer zone within the area and the preservation of other trees. So I think Heather brings up an excellent point. It's not merely to just have a number, but that data has to be vetted. and it should be vetted by the applicant and then reviewed by the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
And I think Bill's done an excellent job summarizing what the concerns are, as far as changes in hydrology, drainage, shading. That's all well established in the science and in case law.
Okay, and I think what Heather would do in the field, again, this is what I would do, not simply count the trees, but I would probably do a rough measurement of the caliper of the tree, the canopy size of the tree, the height of the tree, and the species of tree, and at least have a little laundry list of the tree type with all the specific information and the number, and then we can evaluate that going forward. Would that make sense, Emily?
Too.
Go ahead, Wenda.
You need the location.
Well, of course, that goes without saying, of course.
So I need to have all these trees analyzed and then surveyed, located?
Yeah. Sounds like it.
That's a lot of survey work and additional just cataloging all these trees and like, how am I gonna, I can obviously do the caliber, like the diameter at breast height, but like the crown and.
Well, again, you could estimate, that could be estimated. Emily, how would you recommend that Heather do this in an efficient, quick fashion?
I think that she just sort of, yeah, I mean, it's a survey and a location commenting on the DBH and the approximate canopy. It might be helpful if the commission clarified whether or not they have concerns about trees within specific areas. Are you concerned about the tree clearing within the entire 100-foot buffer zone, or are you most concerned with the impact of tree removal, say within 50 feet of the wetland?
I would probably be concerned with trees that have the ability to shade wetlands during the growing season. So if a tree is not going to cast a shadow in a wetland resource area, it should be totally out of play. That should not be counted. But if trees are going to cast shadows, and significant shadows in wetlands during the growing season, those should be considered. And again, I don't know what you guys think, but that's just my thought. Silence is deafening.
Thinking back to the cutting standards, like when you do a forest cutting plan, you can only remove a certain percentage of the canopy within, I think it's 50 feet of a wetland.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's actually like 50% within the wetland.
No.
I have seen forest cutting plans cut trees in wetlands. I agree with Heather on that one, yes. But again, Wenda's looking at it from a forestry perspective.
Yeah, from a forest cutting plan, they can cut, I think, up to 50% within the wetland. But so the shadowing of shadowing the wetland, that would probably be the canopy and how close it is to the wetland.
If I could add my comments here, especially when we look at lot 2, the density regarding the house, the grading, the driveway, and Heather, I think you did a good job locating the perimeter of work. I don't see the possibility of many trees surviving within that perimeter of work. So if somehow you could identify where this perimeter of work falls on the current site, and then just look simply within that area, how many trees are being affected, that'll have to be removed. Because even if you save some of the trees that are close to this fill, they will probably die because you're changing the groundwater. At that point, I've had a lot of experience with this, that you tend to clear away from your work area. So there will be no trees left near the house. That's impossible because the house is sitting on a mound. So, and if you do leave any trees and then bury the roots, they'll die anyway. So, and then as far as the road, the driveway coming in, again, there were trees there, but maybe some trees would be able to be left and allow this driveway to come in as it's drawn. But the area of work that I would be looking at is where the house and septic tank are located. Because of the amount of grading that's being proposed here, no trees are going to be left in this area. So how many trees are we talking about in this particular area? But the only way you know that for sure is if we can locate where this boundary is located.
Very point well taken, David. Very, very good. Good job there. So Heather,
we're not going to be removing trees in the wetland, I don't think. That's whether or not people do it other places, I don't know. But in this particular site, I don't think anybody's proposing removing trees that are outside of the work zone.
No, no trees will be removed outside of the silt fence limit of work line.
Sure.
Okay, so now it's on the table that you want me to catalog all the trees within the limit of work line.
Oh.
That's a lot of work and survey work.
Right.
I'm gonna have to flag all of the trees so that the surveyor can locate them and then catalog, like, you know, the diameter, measure them, look at the canopy, and then that's a lot of work.
What?
I guess
I'm looking at Google Earth, the 2019 image, and it's an extremely dense canopy. It's extremely dense. It looks like broccoli. It looks like a piece of broccoli I'm looking at.
Right.
So when they cut out for this home site, they're going to open up a lot of area.
But Bill, my recollection when we walked the site, this is not a fresh cut forest. This is a rather mature forest. There was a lot of room underneath that canopy. And I think I remember a dirt track and people have been riding dirt bikes in there. So the trees aren't that close together. I think
Dave's correct on that. I remember that too.
So I understand where you're coming from, Heather, but it is extra work, that's for sure.
It's going to be costly, and I mean, if it was like anything within 50 feet of the wetland, or like a set distance, because those trees are closer to the wetland, they're more, you know, likely to potentially cast a shadow. I mean, that might be something that's a little bit easier to catalog.
Yeah, that was my thought, like 50 feet.
So Wenda, anything 50 feet from the wetland boundary should be cataloged if it's going to be removed?
Yes.
Does everybody agree with that?
Are we saying that 50 feet to 100 feet is the area that we're looking at, and the 50 feet is preserved, or what's?
No.
Well, I think Heather, they have to clear cut some trees to bring in the embankment and the road and build the house.
Right.
So any of those trees, if any of those trees fall within 50 feet of a designated wetland line, those trees shall be reviewed.
Because it's two areas on the plan. One is, I guess, east of the house on that embankment. And then over by the well, that also is within 50 feet. So that would be the northeast corner of the property.
Okay. Duly noted, Dave. So Heather, is that clear what we want to you?
Yep, so cataloging all the trees between the limit of work line and the 50-foot buffer.
No, that's not correct.
No,
First you have to field determine the limit of work line. If any tree within the limit of work lies within 50 feet of the wetland boundary edge, it shall be cataloged.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what she said, but that's all right.
But
Right.
Bill, if you look at the plan, you've got two wetlands that are overlapping. Basically, the entire site is the limit of work that's shown on the plan is basically all within buffer zone.
Well, okay, well, if so be it, you know, again, that's what Wenda's recommending, and that's what I think we're shooting for. Maybe that's what needs to be done.
And I think so maybe the disconnect is the area outside between the 50 and the 100, I won't be cataloging, just
right.
Right.
That's right. And I think what Ed's saying is there's very little of that on this particular lot.
Oh, okay, so we're saying it's just the 50 feet. So if I go for 50 feet from the wetland boundary to the south and 50 feet from the wetland boundary to the north, anything
That's
in between
right.
the 50 and 100 is
50.
Is
yeah,
fair.
it's like from grade school. It's like a union and intersection problem from grade school math. If the intersection of the 0 to 50 foot area intersects the work area, that shall be a designated review area.
Okay.
Understood.
Yeah.
So it narrows it down more. It's not as big as before. So I'm sorry.
Yeah. But like you're saying, those trees are very large trees. They have very large canopies. So even though in the aerial photo it looks like a bunch of broccoli, when you're in that area, it doesn't look so bad. But again, remember, we're in there before leaf out, and this photo was taken in September. So it's going to look a lot different on that property once the leaves pop, and they've essentially popped now. So it's going to look different next time folks go out there. Now, one thing that works in the applicant's favor is we took a look at the vernal pool to the east. In my opinion, is that vernal pool is well away from this project. I don't think that vernal pool is at all in any threat whatsoever. So that's off the table as far as I'm concerned.
That's right.
Can I circle back to the trees? Ed had mentioned anything greater than 8 inches in caliber. Is that an acceptable parameter?
No, Emily, your comment?
Yeah, I mean, depending on what methodology you're following, trees fall into a category of 4 or 5 inches in DBH, but I think if the concern is for a higher canopy, that 8-inch makes sense. I think it's important for the commission to convey to Ms. Comey the rationale behind this extra work effort. Are you just looking for a data set, or what I'm hearing is that the commission has concerns about shade and temperature? So are you looking for a data set, a tally, but also an assessment of what impact it's having on the wetland? I think that needs to be clearly stated.
Yeah, because I think it's possible that if we determine that there's a strong likelihood that there'll be a temperature and shading impact, that is something that might require some sort of mitigation written into the order of conditions, if that is appropriate, Emily, in your opinion.
No, I think that's excellent. I think it just needs to be clear that it's not just an exercise in gathering data and putting forth a tremendous work effort in the field, but also that there has to be an assessment component of it so that the commission can review the impact.
Okay, well said. Well said. Thank you. Okay, again, it's 9:30. Heather, do we have your permission to continue till June?
Yes.
Okay. I move we continue Lot 2 West Street till 8 June at 7:30 p.m.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion?
Are we clear on what the marching orders, Bill, are for the second? I'm guessing it was a slurry well for the wellhead.
Yeah, the way she's going to treat the detail for the second lot will be exactly the same as the first lot. We need some sort of containment volume for the generated sediment during well drilling.
Well, Bill, when we were talking about this too, and I agree that when you're digging a well, you do need a containment slurry pit. Shouldn't that be located on the drawing as far as where it's going to be located?
Yes.
Oh, all right. So this is, I thought maybe I'm misunderstanding. This isn't a freestanding detail that can float anywhere on the document. It's going to be located.
No. I was just, to make it easy for Heather and her engineer, this could be a separate one-page sheet, which would include a blow-up of the subject area around the wellhead with an enhanced detail for the slurry pit.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
So they don't have to regenerate the entire plan set.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Dave. Good comment. Okay. Motion on the table, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Thank you, folks. Heather, thank you. And thank AJ for bearing with us on this.
And that was
Thank you.
June 8th?
June 8th. Yes.
June 8th.
I believe it is. It's second Tuesday.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Okay, Dave, what's our next agenda item,
The
sir?
next one is a continuation of GCC 20-06. It's a notice of intent, number 165-0340, filed by Nathan Boutin for a proposed driveway culvert with regards to his property located on Center Street and known as map 8-A-10 in the town of Granby.
Just a quick follow-up. Pursuant to our meeting last month, I had sent Kathy an email with an attachment, namely Emily's technical report on the subject lot, which had directives as to how to proceed in order to attain a permit.
Right.
So I sent it to Kathy. I asked her to send it to Nathan, and I suspect Nathan sent it to his wetland consultant as well. Nathan, are you in there tonight? Nathan?
I don't
think he
hear
might be caller 11. Okay, anyway, that was forwarded. I hear no discussion. Again, that's an open notice of intent, is it not?
It is.
Yeah, well, I guess.
Motion to continue?
Yeah, we should. You know, technically we could deny, but I think we ought to move to continue because there's still some outstanding issues which I think can be resolved. So I move we continue the Boutin property.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Dave.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Number 8 is this is an important one here. It's continuation of GCC 17-09. It's a notice of intent. It's 165, but there is no number. It's filed by Mike Pio from PC Development and LLC. Proposed construction of a residential subdivision and associated stormwater management structures. The roadway will require wetland fill and open channel crossing with regards to property located at Carver Street and known as map 16-B-15.4 and 16 in the town of Granby. And I think we're calling this the Munsing Ridge development.
Okay, and does that have a file number, Dave?
No, it's 165-blank.
Okay, so
Yeah,
this is.
it can't have the file number until we resolve this issue of that land.
Well, here's the question. Is that the old NOI or this is the new one, I trust, that we've been continuing for the past 3 years?
DEP will not give them a file number until they clear up the old one.
Okay, so I move we continue this till June then.
Okay. Now, I don't know if this, Wenda, I don't know if this is related. I know it says 1709, so am I guessing that was first issued in September of 17, maybe? Is that the one we're continuing?
It's
Maybe.
very possible, Dave. Very
Still one
possible.
is probably 10, 15 years now.
Oh.
Yeah, the old one's on the verge of being closed out as evidenced by that conservation restriction that Attorney DeCruz is handling for the owner.
Okay. Well, number 9 on our agenda is related. It's also PC development. It's the conservation restriction approve/sign meeting, and that's with the select board on May 18th, which is next Tuesday. And that's basically the letter that Wenda read into the minutes earlier during our commentary section.
Okay. Kathy had called me about that. She wants one of us to attend that meeting virtually. I would be happy to do that on behalf of the commission if you want me to.
Okay, Bill, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, and when is it? The 18th of May?
It's the 18th. It's next Tuesday.
Okay.
It's a week from today.
Okay, and if you could just send Kathy a note, have her send me a couple of emails just to remind me a day or two before that, Dave. Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah. And then,
hey folks, this is Emily. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was just hanging on in case Mr. Booton had shown up in regards to his notice of intent. There are no other agenda items that I'm involved with, so I was just going to wish you all a good night.
Thank you, Wenda. Emily.
Emily, thank you. Thank you for your service. Again, you're doing a great job. Thanks, Emily. Have a good evening.
All right. I hope you guys are able to wrap it up soon. I know it's getting late. Have a good night.
I know, yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. We're going to be out hopefully in 2 minutes. Thank you.
That's right. That's right. The last item really is an RDA. It's GCC 20-10. It's filed by Ashley Bowman as the applicant to see whether area of work depicted on plans and our maps referenced are subject to a Wetlands Protection Act with regards to property located on Bachelor Street and known as Lot 6 on Plan Book 244, page 105 in the town of Granby. That's
Okay.
Ashley Bowman. I think she was here, but
no. Is anyone here for the Bowman project? Okay, this is the one that's been dangling for months and months and months. I talked to Mark. It's an RDA.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to not continue this one. I would recommend we not continue it, and then it will go off the agenda. And if she wants to reenact it or revisit it, she can do so. But I recommend that we not continue this one.
Okay, I'll vote for that.
Okay, so I move we not continue this. What's the address again, Dave?
It's a new site, so there is no address. It's called Lot 6 on Bachelor Street, and it's in the Plan Book 244, so page 105.
Okay, 244-105 on Bachelor Street. So I move we not continue this particular project.
Okay, I will second that for you.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. That one's off the table.
And the last one is our gravel pits, approved sign renewal of gravel pits. So
okay,
we talked about that much.
The last time we did gravel pits a month ago, remember we went to Naraki and some of the others? I thought we're caught up on the gravel pits.
We are. You said the next gravel pits are going to be a revisiting of I guess we're supposed to do it every year, every other year.
Yeah, every year, Dave. Every year.
So we were behind, and it was February when we went on our visit, and that was catching you up for the last couple of years. So now we're even with 2021.
Okay, so we have to see Mr. Orland, Mr. Naraki, Mr. Ondrick, and who's the other in town?
I'm writing the names.
I think that's it. Ed, is there anyone else?
No, you've got it right. Those are the three.
All right, so I guess we'll have Kathy initiate communications with those party once again, as they say in Canada, and
Okay.
we'll move forward with that.
Okay, real good.
Can I bring up 3 quick issues?
Sure, Wenda.
Fire away.
Everybody take a look at the property on the left across from the pharmacy on West Street. We had an enforcement order. They had to fix the wetlands. They put in a huge pile of fill with no silt fence right up against the wetland, and you can see where the mud has, been washed into the wetlands.
Could you where are you speaking of, Wenda?
West Street, just past the church on the left,
West Street.
across from the pharmacy. You go down that road. It's a brown house that sits almost on the road, and then there's like a shop/building down the hill a little ways there.
Is it across from the West Street School you're talking of?
Yeah, it's in that area.
Okay. I'm unfamiliar.
That must be the landscaping company.
Yes. The other one is I got somebody asked me to drive and look at off of West Street. There's a DEP file number. I missed this. I must have missed when they came in front of us. It's Barlow Street. What's it? Barstow Street. What's there? Off of West Street. It starts with B.
Oh, Valley. Yeah, I know. Burnett Road.
Burnett. All right. On the right, there's a house going in there.
Yes.
Did that fall out of Riverfront? There's a perennial/intermittent stream that runs through there. I know there's a house that crossed the wetland illegally, and I didn't know how close, if anybody looked at Riverfront for that one. Not that we can do anything now. I guess it went in front of DEP, so.
Yeah, I don't recall that, but.
Because there's a fire pond on West Street, and that water crosses there and goes down and connects into that Pitchwan swamp. So I just wanted you guys to be aware that there's probably an intermittent or a perennial stream there, and I didn't know if anybody looked at it.
Okay, Wenda, duly noted. Dave will scribe that in the minutes, and we'll investigate that at some point.
All right, we have
okay. Thank you.
Orders on our agenda that we haven't dealt with. But
yeah, no, that's good. Dave, is that about it for tonight, sir?
That is it for tonight. We've hit everything on the agenda, and we started down the administrative areas. We did the approval of minutes, but after that, it's bills to pay, financial accounts, notices, news or announcements, and site visits. I do have one site visit, which we spoke of earlier.
There's one bill to pay. Let me just. Emily has 3 outstanding bills on projects she had 4453 Gs for. If you guys vote to give me permission, I will just draft a quick letter and send it to Stephen Nally to authorize payment.
I would say go ahead, Bill. You have my authorization.
Okay.
Yeah,
me
okay.
too. I'm not at the library anymore. I'm home in bed now.
Good. Ed, are you good with that?
Yes, Bill. That's a yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, listen, I got to run as well. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you so much for
meeting is closed, 9:41.
Yes. Okay. I move to adjourn.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.